going to make the blue Calla Speedwell today. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I've already prepped my strap, so it's done. And then I have also prepped my D-ring connector, but I haven't put them together yet. So let's go ahead and start with that. I've got a new thread. It is Tex 92 bonded poly. I'm using white today. So bear with me as I make sure all the tensions are right. It went really well for the strap with the couple of layers here, but I don't know about once I fold it if it's gonna start being knotty. So we're gonna take our well, let's move us back over here for right now. We're gonna take our strap slider and our strap, one of the raw ends, and we're gonna feed it through the middle bar. This thing here. I always end up messing this up for some reason. I always wrap it around the bottom, but you want to wrap it around the center. And I always have the right side of the strap facing up so that the wrong side will be like covered. Does that make sense? So I'm going to wrap it over about 1.5 inches. And then we're going to sew as close to the hardware as possible. I always sew with my zipper foot on my Juki DU 1181. So I have a right-handed zipper foot, I think is what it's called. So I'm going to pull my hardware as far over as possible. And then I'm going to put my foot right next to my hardware. Be careful doing this so you don't scratch your hardware. I've got my stitch length set to a 5. So I'm going to sew all the way forward and then all the way backwards. And that is it for that. I'll clip my thread. That sewed pretty nice over that. Just have a little bit where the thread caught at the beginning. So I'm going to trim all those down and do a quick thread burn. I trimmed them short enough on the front. Okay, so that is done. Now we're going to grab the rectangle ring and we're going to slide that with this right side facing up. We'll slide the rectangle ring. I want to make sure I'm doing it. Sorry, I'm sorry for my throat. I believe it should go like this, so that the strap is up at you. Let's see. Yeah, and then we're going to take that same raw edge and pass it through and then back down. And we're going to pull that through. Now, with vinyl, this can be very, very, very hard to do because sometimes the strap sliders are not thick enough, wide enough to pass through like this. So, this is our finished strap. Okay, this is a thin marine vinyl from my punk embroidery, most marine vinyls, I cannot get to pass through these. This is hardware from moremeknow.com, MOREKNOW. Whoops, I forgot the me. So more, me, no. So this is it for right now. Okay, next we're going to grab our top strap tab F pieces. And we're going to grab the one with the fleece on it. And a marker. And I hole punched a hole out of mine. I'm going to use a magnet. So I'm going to mark my magnetic snap tab placement. All of this will be covered, so I'm just using a permanent marker. I'm going to seam rip the lines I just marked, just the two straight ones, not the circle. And then you can install the strap tab now if you want. Sorry, not the strap tab, the magnet if you want. I'm just gonna do it in a minute though. So we have our top strap tab with the fleece right side up. We're gonna have our strap wrong side up. So you'll see the underside, not this part, you'll see this side. And I have, I'm going to start at the center where I made my marks so I can find the center of my strap and just slide it up. You can fold this piece in half and find the center that way as well if you would like. We're gonna have a 1/4 inch of strap hanging out from the top. So it'll be like, like this. I wanna double check to make sure that's a 1/4 inch. And remember, it's wrong side up. Your strap tab is right side up. Your strap is wrong side up. There's a 1/4 inch overhang. So I only had like 1/8 of an inch, but here's the 1/4 inch now. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and clip on both sides to hold that in place. Then we'll grab our side with the peltex. Is that right? I might have done that backwards, but I can just put a piece of peltex on the other side or whatever. But I can't undo it now because I already made this hole, the rips. Okay. So we're going to pin, I've got this clipped all the way around. Like so. And we're going to sew all the way around, leaving this bottom piece open. I'm going to do this at a 3 length, 3 stitch length. And what I'm going to do is So right next to my peltex or fleece, whatever side you have facing up. I'm not going to even worry about what the seam allowance actually is. Just going to sew right next to it. Okay, I'm using white thread, like I said, so it's harder to see, but I have stitched right around there. I'm going to go ahead and come back up here and stitch right on top of the strap just to reinforce it. I'm going to go right next to the stitch line that we already did within that seam allowance. And I don't remember if oh, it looks like it. I'm good. Okay, so we're going to trim around this now, which I have to get my scissors. But we're not going to cut the top of the strap tab at all. We're going to leave this. So we're going to trim down to about 1/8 of an inch. And then I just taper right off. Oh, I don't know if you saw that. So we'll do it down here. Oh, I did not trim any of this. And then carefully, and this is kind of hard because it's just a little piece, but carefully turn this right side out. So I have Decoville Light and Decoville Heavy on here. So mine are already fused in place. Okay, I'm just going to grab something to poke this out a little bit. I got a screwdriver here in my drawer. This is the strap tab so far. I'm gonna go ahead and you can press this if you need to. Mine's not like wrinkly or anything, thanks to the Decoville. So I'm gonna install the magnet. It's the female side. And I need a scrap of woven fuse or SF101. So give me 1 second while I grab a scrap. It's stuck. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Okay, so you don't need much, just maybe like 1 inch by 1 inch or something along those lines. So I'm just trimming this down to be a little more even. Sorry about my dog there. Okay, so I have like maybe a 1 inch by a 1 inch piece or whatever. I don't know how big it is, but it's enough to just cover the prongs. On the inside, I'm gonna do this scrap of interfacing right on there, and then how I'm going to iron it on. It's a lot. I like the lighting a lot better over here. So it's laying with the fusible side up towards the magnet. Let me see if I can keep this here. Okay, so here's the magnet. You're going to be careful while you're ironing this so you don't get any of your vinyl. If you are using vinyl for your strap tab, don't do this part. Maybe glue on your interfacing. That's probably what I would do. If I was using vinyl, I would glue the interfacing on. The scrap piece of interfacing is what I'm referencing. Sorry, I'm trying to hold the iPad down so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm trying to use one hand. Be very, very careful around your interface, or sorry, your vinyl. All right, let's see if I can flip this way to try to get this side. Sorry, I'm talking all crazy. I'm just trying to use the tip of my iron. Alright, so we have the magnet on, and now we're going to top stitch. So when you put this bag together, this part of the magnet or the top strap tab with the magnet on it is going to be your top side. This is going to be visible from the front. So I'm going to top stitch on this side, with this side up, not the non-magnetic side. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to a 5 stitch length. It'll be thick right here because you're going over the strap. It's also pretty thick all the way around because you're sewing through the peltex and the fleece and the 2 layers of interfacing. So my machine was not set good enough for the top stitching here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that out and be right back. Okay, I'm going to go slow and try to sew right over these holes that I already have made. I have tightened my tension a whole bunch, so I really hope that this works. It looks good from this side. Still a little bit loose back there, which is really frustrating, but it's a whole lot better than what it was. So I'm going to go ahead and click it up just a couple more notches. And I'm going to go ahead and burn those down just a little bit. If you put it up like the fire right up next to the thread, it can make the thread like shrink back down to size.
So this is what we have.
So we'll grab our main body piece. We're just gonna set this strap next to us for right now. I'm gonna grab the main body exterior piece and fold it in half to find the center. I have the center marked from the pattern piece. It's marked on the top and the bottom already. Ooh, sorry. Okay, so it's right side up. And we're gonna take our, top strap tab with the magnet right side up. And we will find the center of this as well, which is just gonna be by folding it in half. And I'll clip it with my Wonder Clips here. And then we will match it up with the center mark we already made. And we'll clip those together. I'm gonna go ahead and clip on either side as well. And then 1.5 inches up, I believe. Yes, from the bottom is where we're gonna put the rectangle ring. And you wanna make sure it's not twisted when you're doing this. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make this 1.5 inches from the bottom, which I believe is right here. Oh look, here's my ruler, so I don't have to just guess. I have a ruler on the table, but it's a little hard to use for this part. I'm a little bit off, so we'll unclip that and slide it down. Okay, and we'll clip, I'm gonna clip on both sides so this doesn't move. Right then, so maybe I can hold this up. So I always like hold my strap out to make sure it's not twisted. Okay. And we're going to baste those on. So I think she says, doesn't actually say, so I'm just going to use an 1/8 of an inch stitch, seam allowance, and I'm going to baste it on with a 3 still. So more or less I'm going to stitch this on so it doesn't actually move later, but I'm only using the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And then we'll do this side, the bottom. I like to make sure that my vinyl is not sticking out on the bottom, if that makes sense. Because a lot of the times the vinyl shifts just a little bit and it sticks out on the underside, and I hate that when it does that. Okay, so those were both, this was both stitched on at an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and a number 3 stitch length. And this is our, let me come over to this side. There's such better light over here. This is our completed back right now. Okay. Okay, let's go ahead and grab our magnetic snap tab, if that's what you're using, and our male part.
Oh, we'll put them right sides together.
And we'll sew all the way around. I'm going to do it just like I did in the last one, and sew just along the side of the peltex and or fleece. Should be fleece, but I already have the peltex and the Decaville light. It's actually Decaville light and Decaville heavy. They're both fused. I've got a stitch length of 3. I meant to make my marks on the outside, but I did not. So this one's a little bit tougher to turn out.
Good job.
Do it again. Because it's even smaller than the last one. And I fused my Decavilles, even though I wasn't supposed to. Oops. All right. Whew. Very good. Viola. Viola. I'm doing a video. Viola. I know. Just pushing out my corners here. This one's being a little stubborn. There we go. I had a right side and a wrong side to this, but I don't remember which one was which. So let's see. I wanted to carry on my rainbow is what I was doing here. This one's my front. Okay, so when you put your magnet on, it'll flip up like this and attach to the magnetic tab on this side. So you'll see this from the front and your magnet will be on the back side. So I'm going to use, good job, my pattern piece and make my markings again. Since I've already sewed it, I can still tell where my marking is supposed to be because it should fit right inside that dotted line. You can see my shadow of the pattern. It fits right inside that dotted line, so I can still tell where my marking's supposed to be. Good job. Okay, so there's that and the 2 lines. Oh, I just put my pattern piece in my drawer instead of this. Okay, so when you do this, you're if you didn't do it previously, you want to be really careful. So I've got this pulled out real far. You do not want to rip a hole in the back, well, the front side of your fabric or anything like that. So be very careful. I've got that in, and putting the washer on the back is difficult in the small one, but it can be done. I'm gonna wake up my iron. Bring y'all with me. Good morning, iron.
Mommy?
No. Okay, we're gonna grab a scrap piece of interfacing. Again, about 1 by 1, just enough to cover the prongs, really. You almost got it. And then we will stuff it inside again. Make sure the fusible side is over top of the prongs. And then I'm going to do it just like the last time and iron around the outside of the magnetic snap tab.
Done.
Now this time we don't have to worry about any vinyl, so that's nice. Good job, baby. I'm gonna turn this. On the plus side, while you're fusing this, you're also pressing your tab. I have heard that ironing can demagnetize your magnet if you're not careful. I've never had that happen. Knock on wood. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Okay, so as I've said, this magnetic side is going to be the inside of the snap tab. So you want to top stitch from the opposite side this time. So I'll turn up to a 5. Again, my peltex was already fused. Well, my Decoville Heavy is what I'm using. So I didn't have to insert it. I've got just a couple threads that didn't sew nicely, so just pulling those back. Not really sure why it does that, but whatever. Okay, so then we have this. Somewhere. Okay.
Hi, Mama.
All right, now we will grab 2 interior slip pockets and the front flap pockets. So we'll put them right sides together, and we're going to sew all the way around them, leaving a 3-inch gap on the bottom. So we're gonna make sure we have turned down to normal stitch length. I'm gonna use a 3. And a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. I think that's what the pattern calls for, hopefully. So, let's go to town on these. Next, excuse my daughter. I need like one more stitch. Yes. Alright, this is the smaller one. I don't know what size this actually, what one this actually is right now. I believe it's a front flap one. And while I'm at this part, I'm gonna grab the gussets, the front and back gussets, and we'll sew these together as well. We're gonna leave the straight edge open. And I am notorious for not leaving the straight edge open and sewing the other edges on accident. So make sure you're leaving the straight edge open. There's no angle to it. If there's no angle to it, then that's the one you want to leave open. The long straight edge, I should say. One stitch too far. Make sure you're back stitching at the beginning and ends of these. Because you're going to be turning them out. What's going on? So you don't want to not backstitch and rip it open. There we go. And now the back gussets, and you're still leaving the straight edge open. It's a long one. ahead of myself there. And last but not least on these, okay, now we're going to turn, oh, well, let's trim them first. I'm going to trim the corners and then trim the seam allowance down. I'm going to use about 1/8 of an inch. I thought I had busied her. I'm sorry.
What is that?
No, baby.
Huh?
I said no. Okay, on these ones, you don't want to trim where we left it open. So I just made some tiny clips inwards, and we'll trim it down over here. I'm still cutting triangles off the corners so they're easier to poke out. Not as much bulk there in the corner.
So this is what you'll have for these. A little like tab. So again, if you didn't see that, I'm gonna make a clip into almost touching the stitching on both sides. And then we'll start trimming it. And last one.
Mom, I see cookie.
Okay.
I see cookie on the. I see cookie on the bag.
Okay. She sees Forky on a bag. Okay, push this over to my car trash can that I've got over here, and then we'll turn these out. Okay. This one's pretty good for now. The corners aren't poked out very well or anything yet, but I'll do those all at the same time too. I try to start in a corner and start pushing it out there, and then come to the next corner and then push it out. And then you can usually just shove it the rest of the way through. She's so loud, I'm so sorry. This is why I haven't been recording this, but it's been like 6 days since I said I was gonna record this. And I really need to get it done. So, I am gonna be sewing most of this tonight. So it's gonna be a little dark probably. I'm gonna try to have all my lights on and stuff. So hopefully it'll be all right. I need to look into a little bit more lighting. Okay, so for these are easy to turn out. You just like flip them around. I'm using waterproof canvas, so it's a little bit thicker, trickier to do. I've heard that you can sew the waterproof canvas Speedwell on a home machine. I've also heard that you cannot. So, if you're going to use waterproof canvas, just be prepared. Make sure you have a microtex needle or a leather needle. Probably like a 90-14 or the 80-12. I would go for the 90-14 if you have them. And you probably want some strong thread like Gutermann Mara 100. Okay, all these lovelies are turned out. My iron shuts off after a few minutes, so she's warming back up again. I've got my handy dandy tiny screwdriver, which is probably not the best poker tool, but it works for me really nicely. Just use caution so you don't poke through your fabric. But like I said, I'm using waterproof canvas, so it's pretty thick. So I'm not like scared that it's gonna poke through. And then if I use it for actual fabric, I'm just very, very careful. So these are like poked out. So I'm going to iron these once I've got them all poked out. You can iron the right side of waterproof canvas, but you cannot iron the wrong side. I mean, you can if you want it to melt to your iron, but I think it's safe to say nobody wants that. I did figure that out the hard way. I knew that somebody had said that you can't use the iron on one side of this, and I assumed it was the right side that you couldn't use it on, just like, you know, vinyl and stuff like that. But I assumed wrong. I've never done that before. Oops. Luckily, that's right there at the seam, so I'll show you how to fix that after I poke out this other one very carefully. Because I'm like talking this mad talk that I'm using waterproof canvas and don't have to worry about it. And now I'm eating my own words. Serves me right. I don't have like a poker tool, so I usually use this screwdriver or I use a crochet hook. Okay, so those ones are all done, and this one I poked out here. So I'm going to turn this back out just in that one corner. And we're going to re-sew. I'm just doing that one corner. Okay, we'll turn that back out. And gently this time, push out that fabric. So we'll come over here. Let's see where I can put y'all. Okay. So, let's see what I got here. This is our tab end. I'm going to tuck those under and push this down. I don't like this one corner. There we go. That's better. Alright, so push those tabs in. And then the waterproof canvas likes to puff up like it's a blower fish or something. And then I press it with steam. And then I'll clip the tab end open. Sorry, I'll clip the tab end shut. So for these little gusset pieces, I'll just press them and leave them like that. There's no reason to clip those shut or anything. I think what I'm gonna do is upload this video that I have so far. Or maybe when I get to like halfway. I don't know what step we're on yet. And break it down into 2 videos. Because I feel like this Speedwell takes a long time to sew. So it's going to be a big video, which is going to be really hard to upload on YouTube. Okay, back to the pocket, so I'll clip it shut. And the last one here. Okie dokie. So we are going to top stitch next. And we're only going to do the top of the pocket pieces and the top and the bottom of the gusset pieces. So I'm going to turn up to a 5 again. So this is the bottom and the top. This is going to be left unsewn. I'm going to do a little back stitch at the end. For the pocket pieces, I'm going to top stitch at the opening, just so that's done and out of the way. Just a little bit of a back stitch on the beginning and ends of these. It's not even like 100% necessary to back stitch on these. Just because when you stitch them onto the fabric pieces, you will top stitch right over it again. So I'm just assembly line styling these in no particular order. Doesn't matter. Just however I'm grabbing them. If I would have thought this all the way through, I probably would have done it with these all next to each other, the gusset pieces. That way I can just flip them all and start sewing those. But alas, I did not, so trim the pockets off. And then I just started on the other side on the corner, and I did not like starting on the corner. So I'm going to turn these so I can start on the raw edge. Okay. So many extra threads to trim off. And I'm gonna burn the ends. I'm not gonna worry about the ones on the raw edges, because those will be sewn later. There's a bus outside, so my dog will probably be going crazy in just a minute. As soon as he realizes what's going on. Be careful while you're burning your ends. You don't want to melt your waterproof canvas. I don't think I've ever melted the waterproof canvas. I have melted vinyl burning ends and scarred? No. I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but I did some of the, I burnt up some of the fabric too. Just plain fabric, but. Okay, we want the front flap slip pocket and the front pocket back piece. So this one, it doesn't have, just kidding. There's an interior slip pocket. Okay, so this will be, sorry, this will be the interior slip pocket piece, which are the two that are the same size. I think I always do mine the wrong direction because it makes sense for it to go the other direction. But whatever, it's just a slip pocket. So these go up 2 inches from the bottom and in the center. This is 8.5 inches wide. So you want the center of your pocket to be at 4 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4 1/4. There he is. But now that the buses drove past. Okay, so you can not clip, but you can pin this in place if you want, but I'm just gonna leave it like this. And I'm gonna hold on to it firmly. And with an 1/8 inch seam allowance and a 5. Actually, you should probably use like a shorter stitch length, but I usually use a 3. I don't think it really matters with this super good thread though. Okay, so this is what we have. Why is it so... Go lay down, Cooper. Sorry, everyone. Okay, then we'll do the other one. Cooper, no. also 2 inches up. From the bottom and centered. So 4 1/4 inches. I just fold this in half. I can see a little line. And then I hold it on there. Next one's done, and our last one goes on the front flap, which is, sorry, not that one, the front pocket back. All right. Yes, front flap. This one's only 1 inch from the bottom and centered. I'm pretty sure I have a center clip mark on here somewhere, but I'm not sure where it is. This is also 8 1/2 inches wide, so it's 4 1/4. Your pocket piece was supposed to go this way. Mine is this way. It does not make a difference. It doesn't get into my seam allowance or anything. And it actually gives me more room to do my zipper pocket. All right, 4 1/4 didn't look right, but when I moved it, it looked really wrong, so okay. If you want to backstitch at your corners to reinforce them, that would be okay. I don't like the way the backstitching looks usually, so I try to do it as little as possible. Okay, so not that you can see this way. There we go. Hey. Okay. And then I think we do the zipper pocket next. Yes. So we'll grab the zipper pocket pieces. I have these all lined up in a nice order. We're gonna grab a marker of some sort. I've got my Tandy marking leather marking thingamabob. Marking pen, there we go. Tandy marking leather pen. So on the longer side of this, on the 6.5 inch side, your box needs to be 5.5 inches wide. It's supposed to be 3/8 of an inch down. This marker is not being my friend. 3/8 of an inch down. I just did mine like 1/2 an inch down. And then 3/8 of an inch down from that line I just drew, I'm going to draw another straight line. So I'm only sewing 2 straight lines. Let's see. Those are what I'll be sewing. Oh, look, it says 3/4 of an inch from the top. I did a 1/2 inch. Meh. And it's supposed to be 3 inches down from the top on the front flat piece. And of course, centered. So to find the center on the zipper pocket, I'm just gonna fold the pocket piece in half and lay it. This is 7.5 inches wide. That's 3 3/4, right? No, it's 3 5/8. There we go. So there's about 1/2 an inch of space on each side of my zipper pocket right now. So again, you can pin this if you want. It's right sides together. I've turned my stitch length down to a 3, and we will sew this pocket on, making sure it didn't move because I didn't pin it. There we go. You definitely want to back stitch at the beginning and end. And then I'm going to flip this around now. And go down the other side. I started a little too soon, so that's still too soon. All right, 3rd time's the charm. There we go. And then we'll sew this other line. We'll trim our threads and that jump thread over there. We're going to take our seam ripper and open up a hole down the center. And we'll clip our V-clips into this, making sure not to clip into the stitching. hop on over here. And then we'll take this pocket and push it through. I have Decaville light fused to the back of this, and I usually don't. Because I use the waterproof canvas, but I decided to do it this time. Making it a little bit more difficult to turn out, but it's not unbearable or anything. So I'm going to kind of just flip this up for a minute. While I attempt to fold the rest of this pocket down and press it again. Oh, sorry. Did not realize you were just looking at my shirt. So this is what we have. Alrighty. I'm gonna keep you right here for a moment. And clip this down while I prepare the zipper. I'm gonna get double-sided tape. I use 1/4 inch double-sided tape from Wawak. It's double-sided leather tape, I think is what it's called. Quarter inch, if I didn't say that. I think I did though. Since our pocket opening is 5.5 inches, I'm gonna do about 5 inches of double-sided tape. I put it on the very edge of the zipper. Thank you. I'll keep sliding down more. So this is what I have. And I make sure to leave enough room that I'm not going to end up sewing on my zipper stops. So I'll end up trimming those off. So I'm going to pull both pieces of the double-sided tape off. I'm going to turn it over so it's facing the right direction. I'll unclip everything. And then what I do is just lay this opening right on top and try to cover up the zipper tape, the double-sided tape as much as possible while keeping the zipper centered. I use 1/4 inch double-sided tape for everything. I don't have any other sizes, mostly because I'm cheap and the 1/4 inch tape is cheaper than the rest of them. And it works for me. So I just did the top, and of course the bottom will stick to it when you're trying to do this, but you can just pull it back up and readjust as needed. This is permanent tape. It won't wash away or anything. So you do want to make sure that you have that tape fully covered. If you don't, it doesn't just like rub off or anything like that. I get that one spot. All right, there we go. It's better, except for the end. The deck of a light is like folding in on itself, which is making the zipper a little bit harder to keep in place. It's wanting to fold in too. There we go. Okay, so my zipper pull is to the left. And we're going to top stitch all the way around this box now. I'm going to start at the bottom just because I don't want to flip this around again. But it doesn't matter where you start. Got up to a 5. I'm not going to backstitch at the beginning here. I am going to make sure my needle's down when I move the zipper. I need like a half a stitch here. Make sure this is all pushed down because it's trying to flip up. Again, I need like half a stitch. And I'm going to come back over where I started and then back stitch. This is it so far. Okay, we'll grab our last zipper pocket piece and lay it right sides together with the other pocket piece. And then I'm going to flip it to where the front is looking at me. I can see the right side of my zipper. And I'm going to flip my pocket back piece out of the way. Then using 1/4 inch seam allowance, I'm going to sew around all 4 sides. Okay, I'm getting close to the edge here, so I'm going to fold this out of the way. fold this side out of the way. And then rotate it and fold this side out of the way. And back stitch. Trim the threads. I'll trim my zipper ends now. I need to burn the one end still, but here's our zipper pocket and our slip pocket.